Welcome back to Thimbleberry U. I am John Jack Gay. I'm joined as always by Amy Walls from Thimbleberry Financial. Always a highlight of my month to talk to you, Amy.
Jag, it's always mine too.
And today we're talking about something that's gotten a lot of traction lately on social media. Treasury bills, or as they're also known, T-bills. They're kind of the star of social media money talk lately. Influencers are calling them risk-free, guaranteed, better than savings accounts. Even Warren Buffett approved. How much of that is true? How much of this is just hype? Amy is here to separate fact from fiction.
I'm ready, Jag. Let's dig in.
All right. Let's start at the beginning. Obvious question to start for those who aren't familiar. What exactly are T-bills?
So T-bills, or treasury bills, as you had mentioned, are short-term loans that an individual can make to the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. The terms of a T-bill range from 4 weeks up to a year. And basically what happens with a T-bill is you buy them at a discount, and then you get full face value at that maturity being the 4 weeks to a year time frame. And so that difference between what you bought them at and what they mature at is your interest earned.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll use round numbers here. I know these aren't going to be accurate numbers, but the face value is $500. You buy it $400. You get the $500 back at the end, that $100 to make it up to the face value is your interest.
Exactly. You got it. You're an expert.
No, you are the expert. I am just here to try to translate it in terms that I can understand. All right. So when social media says, quote unquote, risk free, there's something to that?
Well, they're not wrong about credit risk. The government is extremely unlikely to default. Mm-hmm. But they are wrong to call them entirely risk free. There is inflation risk. So if inflation is higher than your yield, your purchase power goes down. So what I really mean by that in the example you just used, if inflation during the period of time you held the T-bill would have caused that value, that inflation to be more than the $100, well then the T-bill didn't keep up with inflation. And so you actually lost money.
That makes sense. You really have to think about that. It's not just the pure numbers of the bill. You have to factor in inflation. And, that $100 you made on the example we gave, with inflation, that might be less than $100 and you came out in the red, so to speak.
Yeah. So going back to your question, are they risk-free? Like, that is the risk. But I think where people get hung up here is safe doesn't mean it's perfect.
Okay, I like that. All right. So the next thing we hear these influencers say is that T-bills always beat savings accounts and CDs. Is that actually true, Amy?
Well, we just had an example about inflation. Here I'm going to say it depends. Sometimes the answer is yes. Okay. Today's yields often beat basic savings accounts.
Right.
They're also exempt from state and local taxes, which helps. So when you factor in the tax bill, that can help additionally. But high-yield savings or promotional CDs can be very competitive. So that quote word always, end of quote, is a little too strong in my opinion.
I think I've mentioned in a previous episode when the rates went up, I opened up a high-interest savings account because I was getting interest on it, which hadn't happened in years. I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm saving money, I may as well put it away and have it work for me. So I totally hear where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is another one from TikTok. Guaranteed returns. Just set it and forget it. T-bills are guaranteed returns. Is that really how they work?
Yes. You set it, you buy it, and you forget it. If that's what you're considering set it and forget it, then that's true. But we just talked about maturities that are from 4 weeks to a year. These don't automatically roll over. Like CDs at your bank often do roll over. And so you'll just keep going earning the interest. This is going to stop.
Okay.
At the end of your maturity unless you act. So in that sense, it's not true. So, Jag, you might be sensing a theme or taking what's being said in social media has some truth to it, but there's often more nuance that is needed to understand the full picture.
Wait a second, Amy. Are you saying that a lot of posts on social media are black and white in one camp or the other with no shades of gray? Color me shocked.
Well, we know that happens in other areas, but it also happens with the finance influencers.
That is fair. Okay, the next claim we see is invoking of the great name of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett loves T-bills. He's rich. He knows everything about investment. If it's good enough for Warren Buffett, shouldn't it be good enough for the rest of us?
Oh, Jag. Jag. It is true that Buffett uses T-bills, but he uses them as a cash parking lot for billions while waiting for bigger investments.
So he lets them sit there and make a little bit of money while he's waiting to do something a little more aggressive with it.
Yes, he is not using them as his long-term wealth strategy. There is a massive difference between those things. So context matters. And no one's situation, except Buffett's, is Buffett's.
That is a very fair assessment. If it's not a big tool for his billions, it's probably not a big tool for your thousands or whatever your situation is. Okay, the next claim. T-bills are perfect for retirement and anyone can use them. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway, Amy. Is that really smart retirement planning?
Well, a little like what we talked about with the nuance, there is some definite oversimplification that's happening in that statement. T-bills can make sense for retirees who need capital preservation, and there's a lot of those out there. But younger investors risk missing long-term growth by putting too much money in T-bills. Essentially, what we want to think about is that T-bills are a tool, just like any other investment, or, with the basement remodel we have going on right now, the tools that the contractors are using.
Right.
They are not a universal solution for your financial goals.
And as we've talked about in now 145 episodes of this podcast, the importance of diversification. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That would include T-bills, right?
That's exactly right. Here's where I think an important distinction comes into play. And this is something to ask yourself if you are considering using T-bills. Am I using the T-bills as a cash reserve or as a bond replacement?
Okay.
If your answer is both or neither, walk away. As a cash reserve, if that's your answer, think emergency funds, short-term spending, or money you'll need soon. This is what Buffett is doing, but his cash reserve is so big, it's just between investments.
Okay.
And as a cash reserve, they can work well for a portion of a cash reserve, not the whole thing. They're safe, they're liquid, and earning often more than a checking account.
Okay.
If your answer was, I want to be using T-bills as a bond replacement, the shorter maturities mean less interest rate risk, but also less yield than longer term bonds. Mm-hmm. So there's give and take there. And that changes how the rest of your portfolio has to work harder for growth. So it's going to change the dynamic potentially of your overall portfolio. So my point here is without a strategy of determining what T-bills are doing for you, why you're using them as a tool, it's easy to end up misaligned.
This is a theme that we have seen so much, Amy, where either it's a social media influencer or it's somebody on a website, television, any kind of talking head. Oh, this particular investment tool is the latest, greatest, end-all, be-all. And we got to bring them back to reality, our listeners, and say, it can be a great tool, if used properly, as part of a larger portfolio that is well diversified.
Yep. I'm not going to use a paintbrush to install a door lock on a new door. It doesn't make sense.
So the big lesson, T-bills can be useful, but only if you know why you are using them.
Yes. We need to not follow a social media soundbite. We need to use critical thinking skills and make sure they fit our personal plan.
I will keep that in mind when I am mindlessly scrolling on the couch a little later tonight. Perfect note to end on. Amy, if one of our listeners wants to come talk to you at Thimbleberry Financial regarding their financial future and the various tools that you work with your clients, what are the best ways to find you?
They can reach us online at thimbleberryfinancial.com or by giving us a call at 503-610-6510.
Good stuff, as always, Amy. We'll talk again in a couple weeks.
Sounds great, Jag.
Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.